Welcome back to The Mental Game. I'm your host, Brandon Saho, and we are kicking off Season 2 with two guests here on episode number 1. Bengals star quarterback Joe Burrow, his parents Robin and Jimmy joining me for the first episode on Season 2. They invited me up to Athens, Ohio, and we talked about Joe's football journey, their journey as a family as he went from Ohio State to LSU, turned into a national champion, Heisman Trophy winner, and number 1 overall pick, eventually taking the Bengals all the way to the Super Bowl in just his second season here in Cincinnati. But we also touched on the Joe Burrow Foundation, which helps youth with mental health resources and families with food insecurities. This is an awesome conversation with Joe Burrow's parents. We'll get to that in just a second, but on a personal note, I just want to say thank you to all of you for supporting me, my mental health journey, and the mental game as we kick off Season 2. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, rate, review, and share this as much as you can as we try to help as many people as possible get better with their mental health who are suffering like I did so long with depression, anxiety, and other mental illnesses. We want to help anyone we can, so thank you again so much, and I can't wait to kick off Season 2, and we'll do it right now with Joe Burrow's parents. Welcome back into the mental game. I'm joined by two very special guests, Joe Burrow's parents, Jimmy and Robin Burrow. Thank you guys so much for having me here in the Plains.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
First thing I ask everyone on this podcast is, what does mental health mean to you? And everyone has a different answer, whether it be a tool they've used throughout their life, something they've discovered more recently, or maybe there's an event in their life that brought it to the forefront. But I'll ask both of you, what does mental health mean to you?
I think to me, mental health, as an educator specifically, well, and really even as a mom, I think mental health means to me that people are happy and healthy and resilient and able to bounce back from hardship. What about for you, Jimmy?
Well, I think some people have good mental health, some people have bad mental health, and in my opinion, it's ability to cope with certain situations, how to handle pressure, and how to solve problems one way or the other. So that's kind of my definition of mental health.
The Joe Burrow Foundation is something Joe and you two launched this past season. Why was mental health something that Joe and you two wanted to be sure to be able to raise awareness, raise funds, and help people with?
Well, our family in general, as we launched the foundation, it's been something over the last couple of years that has really started to come to the forefront of people's minds. I feel like that especially children and school systems really need extra support, and people dealing with children need extra knowledge to be able to deal with all of the new challenges that kids have right now, especially anxiety and dealing with things in the school system that can help children be successful academically. They have to come to school ready to learn, and when they're dealing with a lot of outside trauma and outside anxiety in their families, they're not coming to school ready to learn anymore. So that the foundation, as we talked about building it, we really wanted to be able to help everyone in different ways, not just food insecurity, but other issues as well.
You touched on the academic side of it, and you're an educator for a long time. You've been a coach for a long time. How much have you seen mental health with your athletes affect you, where you wanted to get involved somehow to help them too?
Yeah, when I first started, we didn't have really access to professionals to help our student athletes. As I had many years in the business, we basically had hired people to help with those issues, whether it's a counselor, a psychologist, or whatever. But we had issues with different players over the years, and I became much more aware when Robin became a school teacher and now a principal. Didn't really realize the gravity of the situation in really Southeast Ohio or Ohio in general. So I've learned a lot since Robin got involved with the Appalachian Children's Coalition, and then with our Joe Burrow Foundation, we're continuing to learn a lot.
Like I mentioned, you guys launched the Joe Burrow Foundation earlier this year. What were some of the first things you did? I heard you talk previously about being able to help pay some of those medical bills for mental health for youth in Ohio, in Louisiana. For me, I've had my own struggles, like we were talking about a little bit off camera before, and it can be costly. And insurance, it's a problem that's being addressed now more than ever, but for a lot of insurance carriers, they don't cover all of mental health or any of it. So just walk me through some of those projects you guys have started early on, if you can.
Well, the first thing we did, there was about 20 families at the Cincinnati Children's Hospital who's had mental health issues and were getting treatment there. Their families had trouble paying the bills. So we started out thinking, well, let's see how many we can pay, and there were about 20 of them, and then we just couldn't decide, so we basically paid for 20 families their mental health bills, and that was one of the first things that we did, and we'll continue to do more.
Yeah, have you guys been able to see that impact firsthand? I mean, I'm sure you get flooded with calls and emails and requests for help, but are there one or two instances where you've been able to see the foundation giving back in person where it's really stuck out, like, it's worth it, what we're doing, it means a lot?
Well, we definitely got a lot of very positive feedback from the families that we helped in Cincinnati and the surrounding area there. It was overwhelming, really, that the little bit that we felt like we could do with the foundation made such a huge impact for them. They were at the point that they were going to lose their services because they were past due on bills, and just bringing them back up to in the black so that they could continue to get their services was a big deal for them, and it is a big deal, and it's great to be able to do that. One
mom, one of her comments was, it was the best day of her life.
Wow.
So that's when you know Joe Burrow Foundation made a difference, and those type things make you really appreciate the fact that we have this opportunity to help.
Joe obviously has realized what his name and his likeness can do to help people in need, not just win games and excite a city like Cincinnati and a fan base like the Bengals fans. But where did his passion for mental health come? Because I know he's a very calculated guy. I got the chance to cover him his first 3 years in Cincinnati. So he's not just doing this to start a foundation. It's because it hits close to home for him, I'm sure. Where did that focus on mental health and that motivation to start a foundation surrounding that come for him?
I think it probably stems a lot from similarly to what Jimmy said. When I started teaching, I would come home and tell little stories, just being really open and honest about different struggles that families were having, and not specific details, obviously, of names or where they were, but just things that were breaking my heart. And it's sad when families don't have the resources and don't have the means to be able to get the things that they need. And on both fronts, food insecurity and mental health, I think that those were the two things that pulled on my heartstrings for sure. And they pull on everyone's heartstrings, I think. So I think that he heard a lot of those stories and took those stories to heart. And
then just growing up in Southeast Ohio and Athens County, he had contact certainly in this school and elementary and middle school. Growing up, that some of his friends, had issues with food insecurities, and as a result, that can present mental health issues. And he was aware of that. he as you said, he doesn't really talk a lot about different things, but he very much observed those type things growing up and wanted to make a difference with this foundation.
One of the biggest moments in Joe's career and really in sports, I think, when it comes to philanthropy was that Heisman speech.
Yep.
As parents watching that, what was that like for you? I'm sure it had to be emotional and you had to be super proud of your son.
We really had no idea that was going to be a part of it. He had a few things, points on a little index card, but we really didn't look at it. So when he started talking about that, we're very proud that he had over the years made those type observations and cared about the food insecurities in this area. And really, it was 31 seconds during that speech, and the GoFundMe page the next day was started, and it just grew into a lot of money.
Yeah.
The Athens Food Pantry then partnered with the Appalachian Foundation, and really that kind of pushed us into wanting to start this foundation also. So really it all goes back to that speech.
Moving on to Joe a little bit on the football and mental health side of things. I know you can't speak for him, but it's your son. You've been able to watch him play and grow up as a kid and play at LSU, win a national championship there, take the Bengals to the Super Bowl, and hopefully win one here in the next few years. Are you ever shocked at how cold-blooded he is and how just cool, calm, and collected? Because, I mean, when you talk about mental health, it seems like he's got a really strong foundation.
He has always kind of played with ice in his veins, honestly, from the time he was very young. I think he always, I'm not sure how, but he could always just, step up and be the guy that could come through when it really counted and when the pressure was on. So it's just somehow in his DNA.
And he credits, his preparation in practice and in the off season, and his coaches, because they put him in a situation going into a game to feel very confident and very prepared for what he's going to see. And he's always been very, very fortunate to have great coaches from third grade here all the way through high school and even certainly at Ohio State and then LSU, now at the Bengals. So he credits a lot of that to being prepared and the willingness to prepare.
For a guy like Joe, his life has changed completely, and your guy's life has changed completely in the last 5 years. On the mental health side of things, how have you seen you two and him maybe together be able to make sure that, you keep your head on straight? You don't get, he doesn't get, you can tell he doesn't get sucked into the fame thing. And for me, someone that's worked with him a little bit, it seems like the fame thing might not be for him, but he kind of takes it in stride because he knows it's part of being a great football player and also being able to give back like he does. But the last 5 years, from where he was at then to now, and your family, how much of a whirlwind has that been, and how have you had to get used to it over time? And are you used to it now?
I don't know that we'll ever get used to it. I mean, we take a lot of pictures, and I think Joe's ability to handle this for sure goes back. We think the way he was grounded, he always was taught to respect other people, treat everybody the same, no matter where they came from or how much money they had. I guess one of the most fun things that we hear from his friends and the people that are associated with him and have been for a lot of years is he's just the same old Joe. And that makes us feel good because not everybody is the same old person when they basically become famous. And we're proud of the fact that he does handle it well.
When you're sitting in the stands at Paycor Stadium or you're on the road in Kansas City at Arrowhead, is there still a pinch me moment that this is our life right now?
I think there probably definitely is that, that feeling, but at the same time, it still kind of just feels like we're just watching Joe play ball. And like like we did when he was in third grade or high school or
It's
at
wild to hear you
LSU.
say that.
It just feels like we're just still watching Joe, and that, which is also fun because he's just Joe to us.
Right.
And yes, he's on a very big stage, and there are lots of people cheering for him, which is the really strange thing. I mean, seeing people in your son's jersey, I
Yeah.
still like. I
Burrow
am
on the
not.
back.
I'm
Yeah,
not
that's-
used
I was
to
a high
that.
school
That's
punter. No one
crazy.
bought that jersey.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to
Yeah.
to see all those people in his jerseys. But it's still just, for me, I'm just still a mom cheering on Joe,
Yeah.
and I think Jimmy is still just dad cheering on Joe too.
Once he's out on the field and playing, that's the way we feel. When you see him going through the tunnel before the game or leaving the field and there's cameras and people all around him, that's kind of the pinch us moment, I think, because you go, that's a lot of cameras out there following Joe around, but she's right. Watching him play, people assume I'm a defensive guy, that I'm watching defenses and all that, but just a dad watching Joe in the NFL. So that's the fun thing for us.
I definitely get when they announce the offense, when the offense runs out and he comes out and Paul Brown just goes crazy and Paycor. Sorry.
I still do it too. I've called it Paul Brown for 20 plus years.
Paycor goes crazy and people are screaming his name. I definitely get a little teary-eyed every time. It's just crazy that many people are cheering for Joe.
That's an awesome visual, and I can tell that you too, the since I met you, and also when you see different stories, that you guys are genuine, and you can feel that connection between you two, your son. The connection in Cincinnati. There was a big narrative, and I knew it was false from talking to Coach O, because I used to cover LSU, Coach White, here, I almost said over there, here at Athens High School, that Joe didn't want to go play for the Bengals, didn't want to stay in Ohio. I think anyone that knew someone close to Joe or Joe's parents knew that wasn't true. The connectivity that he has for the state of Ohio and the Bengals and the city of Cincinnati, how cool has that been to watch grow?
Yeah,
We just feel so fortunate and blessed that he's so close to home.
Right.
I mean, we're definitely happy about that, and we're very happy that the Browns. I mean, they've just embraced it, and the whole fan base has really rallied around Joe and the whole team. It's been really amazing.
Yeah, I mean, he wanted the challenge of being a part of the Bengals, and the fact they hadn't won in a long time. So, that was part of the attraction for him. Sure. Certainly, state of Ohio. He loves Ohio. He loves Southeast Ohio. Didn't know that much about Cincinnati, but he knew it was only 2.5 hours from here, and that they needed a quarterback.
Right.
So. Although the narrative across the nation did at times indicate that Joe didn't want to play there, but that really wasn't ever the case.
Right. And like I said, it's just funny hearing that when you knew that wasn't the case, wasn't true at all. Let's get into some fun stories with Joe and you two. Is there a moment that we talked about a little bit before, how he's cold-blooded and just has that even-keel nature when he's playing? Was there a time when he was a young kid playing that you were like, all right, like our son's got it?
Well, I guess for me, the first thing that comes to mind is actually a basketball game.
Okay. He wanted to play college basketball, right?
He did. He was a good little basketball player. The thing that I remember, I believe it was third grade. It might have been fourth grade. And his little travel team, we were in Columbus at a tournament. Mm-hmm. It was officially a state tournament, but I think that there are lots of state tournaments in that league. But we were playing, I believe it was Maysville. Does that sound right? I think it was Maysville. And
a lot of games ago.
Yeah, it was a lot of games
the
ago.
Sean McVay memory.
And it was a very close game, and a couple of our kids had fouled out. We were literally down to 5 players, and we were like 8 points down with 12 seconds left or something like that. And Joe ended up hitting like 3 3-pointers and 4 free throws or something like that, and we ended up winning by 1 point, and it might have been overtime. It was crazy. And at that point it was just like, I guess he's hitting these free throws, and he was definitely hot under pressure for sure.
I know in 3rd and 4th grade, they would play outside Peden Stadium there, and my office was there, and so on Sundays I got to watch, which if they'd have been really anywhere else, probably couldn't have, but that worked out great. But I'm watching him, in shotgun and throwing a football around like 3rd and 4th and 5th grade, and you're going, that's pretty impressive. One, that the coaches have got these guys in a shotgun formation, and he had great receivers and great teammates there too, and so we saw that early. I remember in the 8th grade, I think it was the 8th grade, maybe the first baseball game here in town against I think we had 2 8th grade teams, and he hit 3 home runs that day. And so, you kind of look at, okay, football, basketball, baseball.
Is he bad at anything?
He would.
Sorry, is he not great at anything? That's what...
I don't know. There's golf. He's not great at golf.
Okay, I'm pretty close with Sam Hubbard, and he's the same way. Like, he'll go out and play, but he's not the best golfer.
And I think that's why he doesn't play very much, because he likes to be good at everything. He's developed into a great ping pong player. They have the
when I go in there for interviews, people they're going at it.
But he wants. I think if he ever commits to it and wants to just put in the time to be a good golfer, he will. When we were in Fargo, he took lessons and could hit a golf ball. I guess he was 1st grade back then.
Yeah, he was really good when he was little.
He's got it in him. He just hasn't done it in a long time and hasn't done it very often.
Well, he's just got to pick it up and he'll figure it out. That's
I
how
hope
things go. I want to ask about the wardrobe. Do you guys get a group text with the family like the night before, hey, this is what I'm going to wear? Do you guys see it on Twitter like everyone else?
We see it on Twitter with everybody else, usually after everybody else, because we're not just honed in on our phone. But
that was one of my favorite shots to get when I covered him. When I saw him walking the stadium, I'm like, all right, I know this is going to go.
I blame her because of her fashion merchandising major and some of the things that he wears. Do I approve? Put it this way, it wouldn't be something that I would wear, and if it was my choice, he probably wouldn't. But he likes to, in his mind, look good and feel confident, on the trips, on the plane rides, and the next day coming in and out of the stadium. So as long as it helps him in his mindset, then we're good with it.
I think that all stemmed back to LSU and the Tiger Walk down the hill.
Yeah, that's an incredible experience.
It is an incredible experience, and he definitely liked to have his suit and be feeling good about it. So I think that's where it all started personally. With
the nicknames, is there, I know you say it's the same old Joe to you. Is there one that sticks out between Joe Shiesty, Joe Burrow? Are you a fan of it all, or you just want to call him Joe?
I just want to call him Joe.
Yeah, most people around here probably still call him Joey.
Yeah,
and we like those. I've heard him say Joe Shiesty for whatever reason. People ask him what his favorites. And, he doesn't like to talk about himself a whole lot, but I did hear that. So if that's what he goes with, then that'll be my favorite also.
You mentioned people here in Athens County still calling him Joey, and just the connectivity. You can tell when you drive in. It's a small town. It's a close-knit community, and Joe still has that in him, but also the community accepts where he's at. You see the posters behind you of him at LSU and playing for the Bengals. How much has that? And he lived at your guys' house right after he was drafted because it was COVID. I remember draft night interviewing him on FaceTime from your couch.
Yeah.
How much has that played a role? Just being, I know you guys moved around a lot when he was younger, but being from here predominantly and just the homegrown roots. How much has that helped him?
I think it's helped him a lot. I mean, once again, he has to stay grounded and not let fame go to his head, which he hasn't. I mean, when he comes into town, there's a sign on each end of the planes that says "Home of Heisman winner Joe Burrow." So he's constantly reminded of it, but he just loves coming home and being a part of this community and seeing his friends.
Last thing I'm going to ask you guys, or one of the last things, is the foundation. What's coming up next? I think you guys are going to start doing maybe some events with Joe in either Cincinnati or Louisiana, back here on the plains. Just walk me through some of the plans here coming up in the off season.
Yes, so as we move into spring here, we do plan to have a couple of events. Those are still kind of to be determined.
Sure.
But we're looking forward to really growing the foundation over the next year and getting out and getting some programming going. Some food pantries in schools are first on the list for next school year. And, so we're looking forward to really helping to expand.
And people can go on the website, joeburrow.org, and it just got added a few weeks ago where you can apply for grants.
Okay.
I think up to $50,000. I mean, we had so many requests, and somebody would send it to me, or maybe Robin or Amy Floyd, our executive director in Cincinnati, and it was just hard to choose which ones you could do, and it was hard to keep track of them. So now you can go on the website, and again, that's joeburrow.org. And Joe said in an interview, once upon a time, everybody has the responsibility to do good, and he believes that. We believe that. I just took off a sweatshirt that had "do good" on it. I looked to see if I still had it on, but and anybody that donates money or is involved with the foundation, Joe considers them, as well as us, considers them a part of the Joe Burrow team. So check it out.
It's an awesome mission, awesome message. Last thing I'll ask you, for parents, athletes that are watching, what advice do you have to them? I mean, you guys have been on the roller coaster of seeing your kid go from, I don't know if he's never been normal as an athlete, but a normal high school athlete to playing at a high level in college, now being one of the biggest stars in the NFL. What would be your advice to parents that have kids with those aspirations or maybe on that journey?
Well, being a coach, I like multiple sport athletes growing up. I know sometimes a parent says, "Hey, you should choose one," or this is the one you're best at.
Yeah.
But I like to encourage, and I think we encourage Joe to do them all, play them all. We were fortunate that he loved them all. But if we'd have chosen one, say 5th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, we'd have probably said, "Okay, Joe, you need to quit football and baseball and play basketball." So, that wouldn't have been good.
And here we are.
We just always, and I think parents in general just need to support their kids no matter what.
Sure.
Be positive and give them all the opportunities and that they need to improve and to practice and get better if that's what they choose to do.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to encourage them to be a good teammate, to put their team first, to listen to their coaches and put the work in, and encourage their teammates to put the work in so that their team can succeed. And it's not all about them. It's about the team and the team getting better every day. I think that it's easy to get really focused on an individual and, wanting your kid to get all the playing time and wanting your kid to make all the baskets or throw all the touchdown passes, whatever it might be, catch all the passes. And that's not what it's about. It's about the team bonding and really working toward a common goal. I think that's one thing that we really focused on as Joe was growing up. And I would really encourage parents to believe in that.
Well, Robin and Jimmy, I can't thank you guys enough for giving me some of your time. And if you need to find out any more information or want to donate to the Joe Burrow Foundation, go to joeburrow.org. joeburrow.org, and we'll see everybody back here next week on The Mental Game. And I can't thank Jimmy and Robin enough for inviting me up there to have that conversation about Joe, their family, his foundation, and mental health. Obviously, if you want to help in their mission to help kids who are suffering from mental illness, get them the resources they need, or families who need help finding food, you can go to joeburrow.org to help them in their journey and their fight. And yes, for everyone at home wondering, I do hope one day Joe Burrow will be a guest here on The Mental Game. Our next guest, this is different this season. I can't tell you who it is next week, but I will give you a clue. He is a former star player for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That is all I can say. But Bengals fans listening, you'll know him very well from the Bengals-Steelers rivalry. Once again, next week, it is a new guest, and each week it's going to be a surprise. I'm going to post a picture on Sunday on social media, so Instagram and Facebook and Twitter of me and the guest, a little teaser video preview on Monday, and then the episode will drop each and every week on Tuesday morning, so you can listen to it on the way to work, maybe watch it at work if you're bored, need a little break at lunch, or whenever you can. But that is the routine now for The Mental Game. I can't thank all of you enough for joining me again on this journey, and we'll see you right back here next week on The Mental Game.